back at it again with another Future Card Buddy Fight video. This time, we are doing a video on the Dragon World Lost World deck profile. We haven't done this one in a while, but it's one of the decks I got customized along with my other stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and go to the Patreon. So let's get started. So, my flag, as you know, is Dragon World, since I only run Dragon World with my Lost World decks, even though I've been thinking about doing something different. My buddy is still Demonic Dragon Release Vanity House Destroyer. I don't have any of the other destroyers, so don't go asking me why. Because I guess I can't pull them, because my luck with packs sucks, so screw me, I guess. Anyways, he has 30k power, 10,000 defense, critical 3, Lost World monster, so he has no size. Like most of them, he doesn't have a cost either. When he attacks, this card on your field cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, so basically they can't destroy him, but they can bounce him, or say how another destroyer could say, put the card to the drop zone that doesn't count as destroying, so he can't be put by that. And he also has the ability, when this card attacks destroyer, return a card on the opponent's field to their hand. So either destroy something or bounce it, and it also has double attack, so a really useful card for field wiping. So on to the Dragon World deck. 3 copies of the size 0 Demetri Dragon Oleski, 3k power, 1k defense, critical of 1. At the start of each player's attack phase, charge a gauge and you gain 1 life. Now it's helpful for stalling and to get the gauge for Lost World. Right now, after I got my customizations, I have not found use for Oleski, but a while ago, before I got my customizations, he was useful for stalling the game out, so I guess right now, I don't know, but when I get the chance to, I guess I'll see. 4 copies of Dimension Dragon Archimos. Still playing the same roles before. 2k power, 2k defense, critical of 1. When enters the field, you gain 1 life for each Dimension Dragon monster on your field. Used in a combo with the next size 0 just for the sake of searching and life gaining for stall. So he still plays the same role. Next up, 4 copies of Dimension Dragon Odio. 1/1/1. Just counteract. You may put another Dimension Dragon from your field to the drop zone and pay 2 life. If you do, choose a card from your deck, put it into your drop zone, shuffle your deck, then put the chosen card at the top of your deck. This ability only activates once per turn. Useful. You call this. You call something else. You call Achimos. Gain 3 lives. Go Odio. You kill Achimos and pay 2 of those 3 life. And then you search your deck for Lost World, add it to the top, and then call the size 1. I'm about to show you guys. And then you have Lost World in your hand. Next up, 4 copies. Now into our size 1. 4 copies of Dimension Dragon Cremata. 3k power, 1k defense, critical of 2. When this card enters the field, you got another Dimension Dragon field, you draw 1. Basically meaning you plus, and you gain, you plus 1 life, you plus 1 hand card. Neat. 3 copies of a size 2, since I was only size 1. Dimension Dragon Apostos. 5k power, 2 crit, 3k defense. Pay a gauge to call it. When this card enters the field, look at 3 cards on top of your deck. Put to 1 Dimension Dragon monster from unlimited to your hand, or a Lost World flag from unlimited to your hand. And then drop the rest. So it's useful for searching. 4 copies of Dimension Dragon Apostrophe. 5k power, 6k defense, critical of 2. When this card is destroyed, choose one of the following 2. Either gain 2 gauge or gain 2 life. So you get the cost for Lost World, or you can get the life just to stall out. Either way, it's useful. Next up to 4 copies of our size 3 and our last monster, since those are only size 2s. Dimension Dragon Logomir. Just like Oleski, he has shown his purpose before my customizations, but he has not shown his purpose yet. Maybe later I'll find out. 7k power, 7k defense, critical of 2. Pay a gauge, put top 2 cards into its soul. Act, choose a monster on the opponent's field. You may drop a soul card from this card. If you do, destroy the card. Destroy the chosen card. I can't talk today. And then if you have a flag with Lost World, this card gets triple attack. So it's useful, and it has soul guard. So, now to our spells. 2 copies of Lost of D. Put a Dimension Dragon monster or Lost World from your drop zone into your hand. It's not once per turn. You guys probably remember me doing this move to R where I turned Lost World to charge fodder, call Apostos, check top 3 for Cremata, add it to hand, drop the rest, cast Lost of D, get Lost World back, and then call Cremata, and then you get the point. Just screw people over. 2 copies of D Death Struggle. Destroy a Dimension Dragon monster on your field. Counter, rest a card on the opponent's field. So cards like Bots or Garga that say they can't, that multi-attack, you can basically go, okay, destroy my monster, rest the card before it starts attacking me. And normally, that would kill Garga, except for Gargantua Switch Mode, and their new broken-ass item that I love with all my heart that makes it so that this gets, to make sure that this can get over it. And Bots X again, basically meaning this card's useless against those 2, but still useful for resting them, or items, or anything else. Or making attacks with, then resting another card so their attack miss. So basically 2 attacks down 1. Next up, 2 copies of our final rest card in this deck, but also probably the best. Drago Trap. Pay a gauge and 2 life. Counter. Choose a card on the opponent's field, and for this turn it can't attack. Box X again, and Box X again, or basically any card that can restand or let the card attack again. That sucks when you rest them. But because of this, they cannot attack in general. Whether it's resting or standing, it cannot attack. So basically, G-Evo would save it, aka Bots loses that matchup. 4 copies of Despair D Raider. Choose one of the following 2. Either charge a gauge for each Dimension Dragon on your field, or gain a life for each Dimension Dragon on your field. If you have the set spell and the item, you could charge 5 gauge or gain 5 life. Let's just say that's the max. That's helpful. You can either get the gauge for Lost World or get the life to stall, just like with Apostrophe. 4 copies of a card that I have not been able to use yet, but I'm assuming it's still useful because I've never gone against a Godpunk player with this deck, but it probably will come useful. Decoding. You may only cast a card during the opponent's turn. Counter. Charge 2 gauge, and then choose a Dimension Dragon on your field. It could be an item, set spell, monster, you get the point, on your field. And for this turn, the next time it would be destroyed, it remains in the field. So it's like Seijutsu Defense, where the monster actually doesn't, it counts as dead, it just can't leave the field. So yeah, 4 copies. It's useful in case I go down to 0 gauge, and it fulfills the cost of Lost World on its own, so yeah. And then 4 copies are definitely the best null in this deck. Dealteration. You may only cast this card during attacking the opponent's turn, and if you have a Dimension Dragon on your field. Counter. Nullify the attack, then if your opponent has attacked 3 more times during this turn, the attack phase ends, so it goes to their final phase. This is a useful null. Unless you're playing cards that have endgame, unless you're playing decks that have endgame study, and if you've all seen Card Protagonist, you know what I'm talking about, or just any Astral Dragon deck that runs endgame study, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, find out for yourself. Because I'm not willing to tell you, because I really hate that card. And when I'm not using it. And then that was our spells, now to our item. 4 copies of Dimensional Heritage Enderos. 2k power, 1 crit. Act, you may rest this card. If you do, look at top 3 cards of your deck. Put them at the top of your deck in any order that you wish. So you can stack your deck for Lost World, or just stack your deck and all. And that stacking comes in place with this next skill. Act, if your flag is Lost World, destroy this. We'll put this card to your drop zone. If you do, you gain 3 life and draw 1. In the 2 games that I've played with this deck after getting my customizations, this has been so useful when I get Lost World out, because I can go rest, top 3, okay, I pick stuff, then I kill my item, gain 3 life, and I've always been at the corner life, so let's just say I was at 1, 4, look at top 3, we'll draw the one that I picked, play another one, rest, top 3, okay, swap them back, destroy this, gain 3 more life, and then draw 1, basically screwing my opponent over. Neat. Obviously, since the Lost World deck, 2 copies of my flag Lost World. You know what this does, but just in case you don't, you cannot use Lost World as your initial flag, and you can only run 2 copies of it in your deck. You may use all Lost World card limits in your flag zone, and this card gets the abilities of all the cards of the flag that you be lost with it. And if you don't know what be lost it is, it activates at the end of your opponent's turn. If this card's in your hand, pay 2 gauge, place this card on top of your flag, and swap your deck out for your lost deck that is 30 cards. And basically that's it. Now to the lost deck, actually. 4 copies of Demonic Dragon Ruiz Vanity Husk Destroyer. Y'all know what he does. He's my buddy. Now you may be thinking, if you remember how I order it, how I said, the more important it is, the closer to the back it is. Now you may be thinking, Vanity Husk, why is this closer to the front? Well, that's because it's important. It's a good card. Trust me, it's a good card. But everything else in this deck either does a better job at this thing's job, or it does a way better job at something else. So Destroyer's at the front. It's still good, just not the best card in the deck anymore. So, yeah. Don't underestimate him, though. He's good, just not compared to everything else. Okay, so you guys are going to remember my item from D&D Dragon Tribe, Gardias, my favorite item in all time, but now replaced with another item. So, this card right here is like that, but better. Carafon Mond. 15k power, 10k defense, critical of 2. When a Lost Vader on your field attacks, destroy a card on the opponent's field and burn your opponent 1. Just like Gardias, but Gardias only affects monsters. This affects anything. Set spells, items, monsters, anything. It also does double attack, so fuck yeah. Gets more attack, and it just does more bullshit. 4 copies. Also, your item counts as Lost Vader. I don't think there's a DD. I don't think there's a Drag God item. If there is, someone tell me about that, but I don't think there is. Plus, I'd wonder how you would actually do that, since Gardias is also your item, unless they make everything dual item. Next up, 4 copies of the name I'm gonna attempt to pronounce, but I'm not even sure if this is right. Katatulubak. Yeah, that thing. 15k power, 10,000 defense, critical of 3. Messed up card text. I'm not even sure why its text is like this, but I guess Can't see, like the weird text, how it's caps and everything. This card in your field cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and at the start of your final phase, you gain life and burn your opponent 1 for each Lost Vader on your field. Basically meaning, say you have 5, your opponent takes 5, and you gain 5. So you're stealing their life. Basically meaning, this thing's a mini impact. Think about it. Have 3 of these things on your field with 5 Lost Vaders. You're nuking your opponent's life. Fuck them. 4 copies of my favorite card in this deck. Apostrophe Ear Geens, which I still question isn't uncommon. 50,000 power, 10,000 defense, 5 critical. I want to say before I even go in contents with this, that's a great thing for a Lost Vader monster, even 4 Lost Vaders. And this thing was 25 cents a piece. I bought this for $1, all 4 copies. In total was $1, so fuck yeah. Cost 10 gauge to call, which is hefty. But when this card enters the field, you get 5 soul. That's not part of its call cost, it just gets 5 soul. It also, you cannot take damage by your opponent's monster's effects, so you can't take penetrate damage or actual burn damage. And it cannot be rest by your opponent's card effects, and its damage cannot be reduced by their card effects. AKA, the only way they're going to live through this thing's attack is if they actually have a null. It has move, penetrate, triple attack, soul guard, and counterattack. Basically meaning, put this thing in the center, your opponent's fucked. There are only 2 other cards in existence that do not take effect damage, and that'd be a Thora and Dual Jaeger. But even then, in a fight, I've done the math with this guy. Either way, they would both die in a fight to the death with this thing, and this thing would still have soul cards left. So we all know who's gonna win that fight. Now to our spells. 1 copy of Dimension Jamming. Counter, your opponent drops 2 hand cards. You mainly use once per turn. So if they're, say like they draw and now they have 2 hand cards, you go before they charge and draw. Cast Dimension Jamming. Your hand's 0. Fuck you. You can't do anything now. Useful for shutting down your opponent or making them useless. 1 copy of Dimension Lifestream. Choose one of the following 2. You can only cast this once per turn. Either gain 10 life or your opponent's life becomes 10. Doesn't matter. They're not gaining life. They're not losing life. Their life just becomes 10. This is useful. If you understand why I said that, then you should know what one of the cards I'm running in this deck is. 2 copies of Flourish of Nihility and Desperation. I've been wondering how I'm going to run this thing, but I think it's good at 2. Put 7 cards from your drop into its soul set. It doesn't have soul guard, so it can be destroyed in 1 hit. Counteract. During an attack on the opponent's turn, drop a soul from this thing. If you do, nullify the attack. It can save you, and it has 7 souls, so it's like 7 nulls in 1. 2 copies of Vanity Cell. Counter, choose one of the following 2. Either nullify an attack on the opponent's turn, or for this turn you do not take impact damage. If I'm correct, you can wait till your opponent casts the impact, like where they pay the cost, where they've already paid the cost, and they instantly cast the impact. You can cast Vanity Cell, and I'm pretty sure you'll still survive it. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure. 4 copies of the card that makes me cry, which is also an uncommon like Apostrophe, and it was also a whole $1 in total for the 4 copies, but 25 cents each. Vile fucking Vortex. For this turn, all cast costs, call costs, and equip costs of cards in your hand are lost. AKA, you don't have cost for this turn. So 10 gauge becomes 0 fucking gauge. And because Apostrophe is on place, he gets 5 soul, the 5 soul is not part of its call cost, that means you get a free fucking 5 soul motherfucker who cannot leave the field till he dies 6 times. Yeah. Vile Vortex, baby. 25 cent uncommon, $1 in total. And then finally, the card that you should have picked up on when I said Dimension Livestream. My impact card. Vanity 0 Blazer! What it does, if you don't know, is you can only cast this if your opponent's if you have 2 or more Lost Vaders on your field. Cards, set spells, monsters, items, whatever. Pay 3 gauge, deal 10 damage. That's just it. Useful. It can be reduced. It can be nullified. But let's just say this is a normal buddy fight game where each player starts off with 10 life. 1 shot. Just 1 shot. Fuck Destiny, I guess. Let's just fuck the game. Let's make an impact that says fucking deal 10 damage. That was the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to raise your flag. Can you pull a buddy rare card?